Right then, here we go. So I'm going to focus first of all on the Plain Indians and particularly on the E question, the 10-mark question, the knowledge-based questions. The question will be very short, something like, why were the Plain Indians so well suited to living on the Great Plains? Now, it's a difficult place to know where to start. Let's just go back to the mark scheme. So level 3, 6 to 8 marks, try and explain several factors that explain why Indians were so well suited. So a good starting point is just to write a list, bullet point a list down the side of things that you can come up with. To get the top mark, you must rank or link them together. So for example, if you're doing level 3, you just list down things like the TP, children, old people, etc. But to get level 4, you must say the most important thing was the horse. This enabled them to hunt buffalo, etc. You could also link them together. The most important thing was the horse. This enabled them to move the buffalo and also to move around in the teepee. Now, where did Plain Indians come from? Well, we think they came from the Indian subcontinent and they moved to North America when the Bering Strait was frozen over between Russia and America, and they became farmers, potatoes, fishermen on the rivers. They didn't really move onto the plains until very, very recent, last few hundred years. And the acronym there is GOD. Why did they move onto the plains? Well, G was for guns. The Spanish brought guns over. D was for disease, things like smallpox and measles. And O was for horses, and they had horses they could hunt the buffalo. So very famous tribes are like the Crow and the Sioux. One of the most important reasons why the Plain Indians were successful was the teepee itself. Remember, the climate of the plains was very hot in the summer, so they could roll up the flaps at the bottom to let the breeze in. Also, it was very cold in the winter, so the hole at the top, they enabled them to start a fire. It was still very smoky, but they could still have a fire in the winter. But more importantly, it was very, very windy, like the recent tornado in Oklahoma has shown. The conical shape of the teepee enabled it to stand up, even though it would take a battering. It was still very successful under windy conditions. Now, why were they also successful? Well, the way that they organised. So, for example, men had a very specific role. It was to hunt, to look after horses, protect the band. The women, the squaws, well, basically they were there to look after the teepee, use the buffalo, chop it up, and all that kind of thing. So they had very specific roles. Polygamy was common. There's more women than men. Men were killed hunting and fighting. So it wasn't something they chose to do, but certainly something that was really practical. So sometimes men had more than one wife. Another reason why they were successful was children. Children did not go to school. There was no reason to read or write, really. They became valuable members of the tribe, hunting, riding, that type of thing. They learnt at a very young age to become part of the tribe. Another important part was old people. Now, old people sounds a bit harsh. When they got to a certain age, they would just be left there. Literally, the tribe would move on and just leave them. So they weren't burdened, we use that word lightly, we're not burdened with the problem of elderly people. Another reason they're very, very organised. The chiefs, for example, were not like kings and queens of England, went from father to son. They were the bravest, the strongest, the most powerful. So there was no hereditary line, family line. It was much more about who's the strongest, the quickest. People like Crazy Horse, for example, rose to the top. However, decisions were made around a council, so it wasn't just one person deciding. The medicine man was very important as well, but really everybody really had a decision to make. They were also very warlike and absolute masters of the horse, which enabled them to hunt the buffalo and be tremendously successful fighters. Here he is. Oh, horrible thing. I want to kill it myself. Basically, another reason why they were so successful was their reliance on the buffalo. Remember, they used to hunt buffalo first of all by stampeding them off the cliff. Then they used horses to hunt them, but they literally used the buffalo for every single thing. Bones for arrowheads, example. Without the buffalo, they were doomed to failure. So it provided everything they needed and everything that they wanted. Hopefully, that they would therefore, if you rank it and link it, will be able to get that together.